But I want to jump back to the beginning of this text. So we see that Jesus, he broke it down. He explained to them exactly what the parable meant. But I wanted to go a little bit through the text just to show you some key things that was in the text. So verse 24, once again, it says, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, that's a key phrase there. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Now, most people sometimes when they read that, they will probably think that it's talking about while the men would just sleep at night, through the course of the night, they're sleeping. The enemy comes in and sneaks in at night while they're sleeping. And then when they wake up in the morning, Shazam, what I mean? There's tares in the midst of the wheat, but that it's talking a little bit deeper than just natural sleep. And I'll give you some definitions of sleep. Loose or slack, to slip. The word loose is irresponsible. The word slack is relaxed, careless, or negligent. So it's not really talking about a literal sleep here. It's talking about a spiritually sleep, to be loose or irresponsible. And what's funny about one of the definitions to slip, it makes me think about when I used to hang in the streets and run the streets and was in and out of jail and selling drugs. And some of you know my testimony. It was funny that one of the phrases we would use in the streets were, don't get caught slipping. In other words, we were saying, listen, you need to be on point at all times, whether it be from other criminals or thugs or whether it be from the police, because we know that we're out here doing wrong and they're going to lock us up if we get caught. So it's funny that that was a phrase that was used, when I used to be out there running, don't get caught slipping. But here it is not talking about a natural sleep. 1 Thessalonians 5:5-6. Listen to this. And this will give you a little bit more confirmation and a little bit more proof. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. So he says, you are the children of light, those of you that are saved, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep. Now think about this here before I go on to make the next point. He says, let us not sleep. So obviously we know he's not talking about natural sleep, because we would be no good. We wouldn't be able to make it if we never got natural sleep. But listen what he goes on to say. He says, therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. So there's a key there. This is talking about a spiritual thing. It's not talking about natural sleep. It's talking about being on point spiritually. So it says, while men were off point, the devil came in and he planted tares among the wheat. And that's what we see in today's time. We see a lot of tares that's been sowed among the wheat, but a lot of it falls on us, because a lot of times we were asleep spiritually. We wasn't paying attention. And what's funny is who's better to tell us about this than Peter, because he's the prime example of being asleep in a situation where he should have been praying, where he should have been watching. Matthew 26:40-41. Some of you are familiar with this passage of scripture. This is when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was there praying because his time had almost come to be taken and to be crucified. And listen to what he says in the text. And he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep. Now here, they were literally asleep. They actually were asleep physically. But listen what he goes on to say. And saith unto Peter, he said it directly to Peter, what, could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. So he says, listen, you couldn't watch with me 1 hour and pray lest you enter into temptation. Because how many know? Later on in that situation, they were going to come and get Jesus, and what ends up happening? Peter gets upset. He gets all crazy. He cuts off a man's ear. Why? Because he wasn't watching and praying. Because had he been watching and praying, he would not have fell into that. Why? Because he would have understood that this is the will of God, that this is something that was meant to happen. And unfortunately, because he was physically asleep and spiritually asleep, he dropped the ball in that situation. But all glory be to God that God's will be done, no matter whether we find ourselves messing up in the midst of it or not. God is still going to make sure that his will be done, because how many know, even though Peter, he tripped out right there and cut the man's ear off. Jesus put the man's ear back on. He explained to Peter, listen, those that are going to live by the sword, they will also die by the sword. We know that Peter later on eventually denies Jesus and backslides and go back to his old life. But guess what? God restored him and still was able to bring him to the place where he needed to be and was supposed to be to fulfill his purpose.